Hey, what's up people, it's TTC. Today we're going to have a look at the Supervillains New 52 Poison Ivy from DC Collectibles. DC Direct or Collectibles? I don't know, whatever the hell they were called. These were released way back in 2015, and I passed up on them at the time because they were 7-inch scale and they were just way too big for my 6-inch DC collection. And times have changed, man. I mean, now McFarlane figures are all 7-inch, and this one right here might even be just a little bit too small. But you know, there's not many options really, because McFarlane have never released a comic book version of Ivy. There is the Batman and Robin Uma Thurman version, which is actually a pretty good figure considering what it's based on. But man, it's crazy prices on second-hand market. Literally talking like 200 quid on eBay, which is just crazy. Now, I ain't ever going to be about spending that much money on a figure, so this one here is kind of a stand-in for now. But I'm actually okay with that because it's surprisingly pretty cool. I ain't super familiar with this version of her, but like most things from the New 52 era, they do have a really cool costume design. It's sort of like a semi-nostalgic throwback for me to see this packaging, because I used to see this just hanging on pegs in Forbidden Planet over and over again for years. Didn't seem like anyone wanted this or the Harley Quinn. But it's cool to see it again, you know, it just sparks that memory. And if you turn it around to the back, you have actually got the other two figures that were in the line. I think it was just these two as well, I don't know. I did at one point really want this Harley here, because it's such a cool look for her with the roller skates and whatever. In hindsight, I'm glad I didn't pick it up, but it would be really cool to see McFarlane do a version of this. Never been a big fan of that Joker there. I mean, it's just a guy in a shirt and a jacket. I mean, that's boring as f***. Some more product shots on the other side, and then you're back to the front. I mean, if you know me by now, I really don't care about packaging. This is going straight in the recycling. I did get this for pretty cheap though, because the packaging was beaten to hell. I mean, all the plastic's all cracked along the top there. I'm sure you noticed most of the cardboard is creased to death. Kind of stuff that would make a mint-on card collector pee the pants, but to me, it just makes it easier to open, and I saved a couple of quid, so you know. Let's just have one last quick little look at it before we rip it to pieces. I really don't get what people get out of collecting the boxes. I mean, I could not care less about this. I kind of want the thing inside the box. I don't want it trapped in there. I mean, it's just common sense to me. If it makes you happy, then, you know, cool. More power to you. But for me, I'm going to absolutely rip this to pieces. God damn twisty ties. Oh, I hate these things. Alright, here she is all open and out the box, and I gotta say, I'm actually pretty pleasantly surprised. I kind of really like this. I've always kind of thought of DC Direct as kind of like the Marvel Select equivalent, you know, as in like the sculpts are really good, kind of pretty good paint, and then pretty naff articulation. In some ways, that is kind of what's happening here. But when you get the look this right and this spot on, then I'm just happy with it overall. It's a good feeling when you get something that you weren't super excited about, and it actually turns out to be really good. I've seen other people's reviews and all they do is badmouth this thing, and guess what? I disagree. Yeah, it's still just a stand-in until something better comes along, but now I'm not really in any rush. However, nothing's perfect, so let's go poke a load of holes in the fact that I just said that I really like this. I mean, first off, I gotta say, it is a bit of a weird costume. I believe the concept of it is that the black undersuit is like a bio, gooey, sort of venom symbiote kind of thing that grows leaves and vines out of it. Cool, fair enough. It's better than the classic look, which was getting kind of boring, and then definitely better than she's just naked and got a couple of leaves over her nipples. Comic book fans are too horny, man. But this looks good, because all the leaves and stuff are actually sculpted on. It's a bit weird having the asymmetrical thing down the front with just one boob hanging out. I mean, it'd probably look better if it went up a whole torso like that. But that's a design choice, that's not the figure's fault, so they've actually captured it pretty perfectly, I'd say. Could have done with maybe a little bit of a wash or a bit of colour variety in the leaves, you know, like some darker greens, oranges, browns, or something like that. As it is, it's very bright, it's sort of like the sour chewits that you used to get. But if you were only going to use one colour, then I'm happy that they picked this one. And I'm glad that it is at least consistent all the way down. These swirly, twirly, viney tendril things on her arm, they do look pretty good. They're all sculpted on as well and a bit raised. It's kind of a hard one to get right, because if they were any more raised than this, they'll actually look like they were wrapping around her arm, but they would totally get in the way of all the articulation. So as it is now, it kind of works better, but they don't really look like vines, they just look like a costume detail, which, you know, you choose which you think is better. There's not a lot more I can say about the leaves wrapped around the legs that I haven't already said, but they look good. And then down at the ankles, you've got some more of those sort of swirly, twirly vines. Now I'm looking at them. They do look like they should have some kind of leaves or something protruding from them. Again, maybe that's part of the design and I'm just making this up in my head, but would probably have looked a lot better, wouldn't it? They do carry on all the way down to these teeny tiny little feet, which, if you know anything about DC Collectibles plastic, and I am terrified of breaking these little feet off, I will not be moving those if I can help it. And it's nice to see that all the detail and everything carries on the back of the figure. I know that should just be a given, but it ain't always, unfortunately, so that gets points from me. I think it looks pretty good. The overall proportions on this figure are really nice too. I like the way they've done this. I know there could be an argument made to make her all curvy and seductive and vivacious, or whatever word you want to use, you perv. But I kind of like her looking a bit skinnier like this. I mean, it makes sense that even though she does seduce people with all the pheromones and whatever, she'd probably be closer to your proper scruffy, hippie, vegan, stinks a BO kind of girl. She's just missing the beanie hat and the reusable Starbucks cup made out of hemp. Very nice face sculpt on this thing. Like I said before, this company have always been really good with the sculpts, and I think one thing they actually do really well is make the faces actually look like the comic book art. And I can definitely see sort of a mixture of a few artists in here, and it looks really good, you know? I mean, she looks pretty without looking like she's being super over-sexualized. The real pale skin tone, that's one thing, right? Because obviously sometimes she just looks really pale, sometimes she's got green skin. I suppose it's a matter of choice. I kind of prefer it pale like this, and it goes really well with those green lips and that green eyeshadow. I mean, let's face it, ginger people do tend to have paler skin, but they picked perfectly the right tone of plastic here that looks kind of translucent almost, which kind of goes with the green, you know, makes it look a bit more sickly. Kind of like she does have chlorophyll running through her veins, she would be kind of a different colour. I believe these black lines are supposed to be sort of like tendrils growing up from the sort of weird undersuit that she's got and crawling onto her face. Again, very Venom-like. Yeah, these probably would have been better to be just at least slightly sculpted on, because at the moment, now I know I'm not the only person who's seeing a Mike Tyson face tattoo there. I like the concept of it, you know, I mean, it would look pretty cool, just maybe the execution, not so great here. The hair is a separate piece, just a big chunk of plastic that I actually think has been painted this orange colour. But it's a really nice shade of orange though, and then it's got sort of darker brown wash to it to sort of bring out all the details. I like that a lot. And as you can see, the sculpt of it has got a lot of movement to it, you know, it's it's got a lot of volume and waves and texture, and without it being massive or too much movement, you know, blowing to the side, except for at the bottom here, which I think was supposed to look like it's blowing off to the side, but it kind of looks like she's just had the ends of her haircut really wonky. It's not a deal breaker, but I do think they probably could have done a better job of that. It is, thankfully, made out of quite a softer plastic, so you can sort of give it a little bit of a bend, a little bit of give, so that you can at least get it over the shoulders when moving the head. But because it's such a big piece, it doesn't really make too much difference, to be honest. But I do like the sculpt in it, you know, I mean, the front frames the face pretty nicely. I like the way it goes down the back, and from the front, you can't really see the super wonky angle that the ends are cut at. But I think it's one of the better hair sculpts that I've seen. There's a few little leaves that are sort of just scattered in and out, and most of them are sculpted, and then there's a bit of that really bright green paint on them again. And some of them aren't sculpted though, they're just a big green splodge. It's cool, I do like it. Could have maybe done with a little bit more. Maybe the odd flower or something, that would have been pretty nice. See, she's your stinky hippie girl with loads of shit in her hair, dumpster diving for loads of picture frames to hang in the flat that she's squatting in. I don't usually pay too much attention to articulation in these videos, but it's worth pointing out on these because it's there, but it's also not too usable on these kind of figures. However, this is like 12 years old now, and the plastic was always brittle on these when they were brand new, so I'm kinda nervous about this one. Let's take it slow, have a bash, and try not to break anything. The head is just on a ball, I don't think there's any hinge or anything, so it's just got a bit of a swivel side to side. Careful. Oh, come on. The shoulders hinge in and out, but just barely. They're very stiff, and then that sculpted vine thing just completely gets in the way, so you definitely don't want to push on that too hard. There is a little bit of a bicep swivel, which strangely is actually really loose, which makes me even more nervous. Single jointed elbow, which doesn't have much range in it at all, and then no anything at the wrist, which is kind of weird. The hands are pointed just sort of straight down, so you can't really get her with a hand out, sort of casting, teasing a plant or using her powers. You get what I'm getting at. You kind of want it outwards like this. You can make it work as is, but it would have been nice. Absolutely nothing in the torso, which I'm not too fussed about, but the way that the leaves sort of go underneath the chest there, you probably could have put like a diaphragm cut or something, just saying. The hips come out sort of this far forward. Not really at all, to be honest with you. They're very stiff and there's not much space for them. This is where I break this thing, it's coming. super stiff, but you can get pretty wide splits. That's not too bad. Don't break, don't break, don't break, don't break, don't break, don't break, don't. There's a swivel at the thigh, which that was stuck for a second then. I thought that was going, but there you go. After you give it a little bit of a shove, it will move. It does break up the sculpt of all those leaves there, though. Single knees that might as well not exist. Kinda crappy. Well, I say that, this side does at least go a little bit further. And then just a hinge down at the ankles, making those splits. Kinda redundant, you can't really do anything with them. I didn't break anything. Now I'm gonna go and put this on the shelf and never move any of those joints ever again. Kinda weird that the Joker figure in this line came with a knife, and Harley came with some rollerblades and a giant hammer. But Ivy, on the other hand, nothing! Give her some plants, flowers, anything. Maybe something that can sort of crawl up her arms or her legs or something, you know, sort of snake around like these are trying to do. I've still got this twisty tie lying around, so maybe something like this, you know, that could sort of curl outwards from her hand. Didn't even have to be bendy like the wire, it could have just been straight. Just something to show any sort of use of her power whatsoever. I might try and make something out of this. Probably not though. Lazy. Comparison time. Here she is with a McFarlane 7-inch Batman. Now this is the Ben Affleck Batman vs Superman Batman. However, I took the head off that because I just really don't like the cowl on it. And I stuck what I think is probably one of the best Batman head sculpts that you can get from the DC Icons Rebirth Batman. Whacked it on this guy, and I think it looks so much better. And even though she's a little bit short, these two scale pretty nicely together. I'm happy with this. Tell me that ain't the best Batman head sculpt you've ever seen. It's a revelation! Here she is with the Rebirth Nightwing. Another one I modded. I changed out his lower forearms and added the gauntlets from the Rebirth Batman. I just think it looks cool. And these two have both got that sort of vibe, you know, of the dark undersuit with a really bright colour on top of it, so didn't plan that out, but it's a pretty cool coincidence. And here's my Harley Quinn, which is actually a kit bash, because apparently I just can't help myself but mess with DC figures. It's a Mattel Multiverse Harley Quinn with the McFarlane Multiverse Birds of Prey head on it. Is it accurate to anything? No, of course it's not. But I think it looks cool. But it's nice that these two work together size-wise with them. Sometimes being friends, sometimes being love interests. It's kind of an important one, this, and I think it works pretty nicely. Now, I was trying to get these two in sort of like a nice, sincere, sort of a cuddly kind of pose, but the articulation on this is having none of it. So how about a body slam instead? Boom! And for another DC Collectibles, here's the Greg Capullo Two-Face. Obviously, same company, kind of the same line really, so these actually work much better height-wise, and they both got just piss poor articulation. Here's a 6-inch Marvel Legends Mr. Fantastic. Obviously, these don't go together for many reasons, but obviously he's a married man. He ain't interested in no stanky hoe. He does look sexy with that beard, doesn't he? And then just cause I kind of recently picked this up too and I kind of wanted to show it off, here's a Spin Master Batmobile. I have no idea if this thing has an actual name, but it is cool as hell. For a cheap kids version of a toy basically, all the details are there, everything you want. Pretty well sculpted to be honest. It's lacking in paint, but if one thing was to just be completely flat black, it's the Batmobile, innit? Like I said, I don't know if this has a specific name or if it's supposed to be actually from anything. All I know is it scales pretty well with 6 to 7 inch figures, and the McFarlane Batmobiles cost 100, 200 quid, and this cost me a £5. Pretty sure I made the right choice there. It would be pretty cool to make some kind of diorama with loads of like leaves and vines or branches or whatever wrapped around this. I'm sure there's more creative people than me that could make something pretty cool out of that. So all in all, definitely happy that I got this. Like I said, it wasn't something I was originally definitely after, and I have kind of put it off before in the past. Don't really know why I've done that now, because I'm definitely really impressed with it. I got it for a pretty good price. It was sat there with a starting bid of $19.99, so I just put that starting bid on. Nobody else wanted it, so there you go, with free postage. I think that's pretty good, to be honest. It'll fit really nicely in my collection. Yeah, as a stand-in, like I said, until we do get something better. However, with McFarlane losing the license, I can only imagine that Mattel will go back down to 6 inches again, so who knows, it'll probably never happen. I just want to point out, I really don't care if it's Mattel or McFarlane making these figures, but if they keep changing the scale, then I have to start again. I'm just going to lose interest, man. So don't forget to like this video, drop us a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Plenty more stuff coming, some newer stuff, some slightly older stuff like this. It's actually my birthday in a few weeks, and my wife always says that she will not buy me figures. She hates it because she'll get it wrong, and then always does, so who knows, there might be something cool coming up soon. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.